Carolina fell to Notre Dame by a score of 31-17, and outside of the first quarter, that score doesn't quite do the game justice as the Fighting Irish took away Carolina's explosive offense and established its will at the point of attack. Ultimately, this was a measuring stick game for the Tar Heels to see how far it's come as a program under Mack Brown and how far it still has to go to compete at that national level. Simply put, Carolina lost this game because Notre Dame won at the line on both sides of the ball, but especially on offense. It doesn't matter how great your skill positions are if they're getting blown up in the backfield or not allowed enough time for routes to develop. Carolina's offensive line got manhandled in the trenches by a far superior group, and when that happens, there isn't much you could do as a play caller or offense in general. Sam Howell actually operated well under pressure, completing 6 of 8 passes with a touchdown and no turnovers, yet he was still sacked 6 times, and they were all cases of a pocket collapsing in on him almost immediately. Another reason this Carolina team struggled is because Notre Dame is a team that tackles well in space. How often this year have you seen a broken play at the line where Javonte Williams is able to shake off a defender and make something out of nothing? Coming into this game, no running back in the country had avoided more tackles than Williams, and you have to give credit to Notre Dame for getting a lot of hats to the ball to make sure he went down on the first attempt. After scoring touchdowns on its first 2 possessions, Carolina was held to just 3 points on its next 9 drives. This was an offense that came in averaging over 560 yards per game, and Notre Dame held UNC to under 300 total, including only 58 yards in the second half. We're so used to defense being almost a lost art in college football that it's actually jarring to see such a stout defensive performance. Which leads into my next point of how the most encouraging sign in this game from UNC's perspective was its own defensive performance. I'll be the first to admit that I didn't think this defense had nearly enough stops in it to give the Tar Heels a chance. Yet, excluding kneeling out the clock, Notre Dame only scored touchdowns on 4 out of 11 drives. Against a team as good as Notre Dame, and almost anyone really, you'd sign up for that every single day and twice on Saturdays. Even in its scoring drives, Notre Dame's offense was Ian Book playing street football and turning a broken play into a positive. When it comes to the future of this Carolina defense, this game to me reaffirmed that defensive coordinator Jay Bateman is going to put the defense in a position to make plays. On Saturday, you look at the defense and there's 5 true freshmen out there battling, going toe-to-toe against both an offensive line with 100-plus starts and a graduate student with a ton of experience at quarterback. I mean, just look at somebody like Tony Grimes at cornerback who should be finishing up his senior year in high school, and he's out there not afraid of the moment. It's been nearly a decade, but on Saturday, I saw a glimmer of hope that with better personnel coming via recruiting, defense could finally be returning to Chapel Hill. Going back to looking at this game as a whole, keep in mind that football is still a sport where both teams are trying its hardest to win the game. This isn't a loss to Virginia or a loss to Florida State. This is a loss to one of the 2 best teams in the country, and the Tar Heels kept it within 1 score for almost the entire game. In the fourth quarter, Sam Howell had the ball in his hands to tie the game. You just can't ask for much more than that. At this point, Notre Dame is head and shoulders above every team outside of Clemson in the conference, and Carolina just couldn't catch the Irish on an off day.